Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. All right, you've probably been along in our journey of these series of interviews. First we had Daniel Craig, then we had Cary Fukunaga, and now we are having the legendary Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. Before we get into the interview, just a couple things real quick. It's a little bit of sound warbling in the beginning. It doesn't last very long, and then we're off to the races. And just as a reminder, with these press junkets, you are literally catapulted into the room with them. You have no countdown. You're put right into it. It's very organized. Everybody's very polite. It was very well run. But suddenly you're in a Zoom with, again, the legendary Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. And it's like, pow! And I have to admit, even though I interviewed Daniel Craig, Cary Fukunaga, and a couple of other people that you'll see soon, this was the one that just I felt the gravitas in the room, right? I mean, the Broccoli name, Michael G. Wilson being, this cornerstone of the entire franchise. There felt something very big. And when I went into the room and I saw them for the first time, and they're listening to me, they're hearing my questions and they're answering my questions, I felt the weight of the interview, I have to tell you. But let's check out the interview and then I'll come back in the end.
Great. My name is David Zaritsky. I'm from the Bond Experience. Hello, Barbara. Hello, Michael. How are you?
Hi, David. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm going to actually start off. I've seen the movie twice, and I want to first of all thank you.
Already? How is that possible?
I couldn't waste any time. I saw it at Royal Albert Hall. Very moving speech from both of you on the stage, and then I saw it in a screening a little bit later. But I actually want to go back and start with Being James Bond, the documentary, because I have a bit of a confession. Daniel's speech at the end of the documentary, when he says goodbye to the staff, I started to well up. And as a fan, I feel like I've been on this journey with you. Barbara, it wasn't until you hugged him and I saw your face that I lost it. I just lost it.
Make me cry.
Yeah. Well,
You're gonna make me cry, yeah.
I have to ask you, what was going through your head? What were your emotions like when that happened?
Well, I was dreading it. I mean, I was, normally after a 6-month shoot, you kind of can't wait for the last day. You just want to go home and collapse. But I was dreading it. And it was very, very moving. And it felt very profound. Strangely enough, that last shot was him running away from camera into the dark. So it was really quite eerie. So it felt not just like a big Bond moment, but it felt like a moment for cinema history, really.
Yeah.
The end of an amazing era of Daniel.
Truly. And I think Daniel's era and the two of you who have been hand in hand with it have humanized James Bond. And I think that was a very human, emotional moment. And Michael, when I think about how personal this movie is behind the scenes, as well as the movie itself, was that purposeful, making this movie very personal?
Well, it was always going to be, well, we after Spectre, we thought, Daniel thought that would be the end of it, but we thought there was something more we could do, and Barbara had some conversations with him, and he eventually came around. And but if you start with Casino Royale, that one is a very personal story from Fleming, and it really sets Bond up as an emotional character, and it shows him going from a sort of brash, confident, cocky agent through falling in love and thinking maybe he'll, go away from the service, and all, then feeling betrayed and getting his heart broken. So that started the whole idea that Bond would have this emotional life, and it was something that Daniel could do particularly well. He was extremely an actor who was extremely gifted and could, do all the emotional elements that we needed. So we thought very much when we started to put this one together with the writers that we wanted to have this kind of a film. And, it's just a question of how to balance the nuances. And of course, there's there's a lot of emotional challenges in this film, not only the love story and the villain, but also what's happening in MI6, what happens to Leiter, and then dealing with the new 007, and all of these elements are all emotional challenges he faces in different ways to different extents. So all of those we thought would be great to involve, and it's something that he embraced and suggested a lot of the situations there, and worked with the writer and directors and ourselves to come up with the film. And yes, it was really intended from the beginning, and it worked out.
Yeah, I love the emotional challenges, as you put it, because Barbara, this is one of the things I was going to ask to you is, I find as somebody that's consumed this, I'm 53, I'm Daniel's age, for so long, I found that Bond has become a little bit more fallible, but because of that, a little bit more realistic. And that really resonates in this film, probably even more than the other ones. Was it a purposeful amping up of those type of aspects?
Absolutely. I mean, we wanted, when we went to cast Daniel, we wanted a Bond for the 21st century. So we wanted, a man who had evolved. And so, Daniel's Bond bleeds, feels pain, cries, gets his heart broken, all those things. And he's gone from being what Fleming described in the books as a silhouette to, a real human being.
Absolutely. And
I have laryngitis, so I'm going to take a sip.
Please do. I'm in the medical industry, so your doctor says please do that. One of the things that I was extremely happy, and I think a lot of us is, I am a cinema goer, and I love the fact that, yes, even during a pandemic, other companies may have released it in a very different way, and you really dug in and you said this needs to be consumed. I'll even use the word experienced in a cinema setting. And I had a feeling it was more than just the experience. I feel like it's almost a sense of duty or loyalty to cinema. Is that correct?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we cinema's been our life, and we make films for the cinema. Cinema was the only way to release films, and then TV came along. Cinema went through a downturn, and then it came back and with a vengeance, and and it's been with us. And IMAX. We shot this film for the first time with IMAX in the opening sequences and in the Cuban sequence. And we also have done a 3D conversion, which we've never done before. All of these things. We did that because we've been unhappy with the 3D up to this point, but we saw some experiments and we thought, well, it was quite good. Now that we've seen it in 3D, we think it's an excellent way to see the film. And all of this, so everything we've done has been to enhance the cinema experience and to be certain that we preserve the cinemas. The film has a different experience from a home entertainment. It's just a very different experience, and we held out for the time when we thought it was safe for the public to go back, and the public was confident in going back to the cinema, and that's and so it's a very important aspect of what we do.
I find that the Bond fan straddles the line of a community and feeling sometimes isolated during a pandemic. The two times that I saw this, I felt a part of the Bond community. And I have you can either help dispel or support a fantasy of mine. I've often thought of the two of you sitting in a large room, nothing maniacal, actually very positive, making choices and decisions about the Bond future, about the franchise. And how often, when you make those choices, do you think about the fans and the Bond community?
Well, I mean, I think we always think about, the fans in the respect that we want to make the best film possible. And, we I mean, my father always said, that we have to be brave and make choices. And even if they're wrong, make choices, do things, keep it fresh. So that's what we've been doing. And we make the films for the audiences. We don't make them for ourselves. So, the fans are always at the heart of this.
I love that. I love that, especially the usage of the word heart. Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, amen. That's exactly right. You don't make them for yourself. On the other hand, you have to also make sure that what you do will surprise fans and give them something that they weren't anticipating, so that they can keep it fresh. And that's sometimes we come up with those ideas. Sometimes they're better than others, and sometimes we get criticized. But I think we always have to keep striving, and that's the important thing. You always try to keep striving to make it as interesting and unique as we can.
I love the risks you took in this, because one of the things that I found is we do have all the tropes that everybody's looking for. We have those Bond moments that everybody cheers. And actually in Royal Albert Hall, people were cheering. I mean, you were there. What I also saw that you did was you stretched the Bond formula, not to a breaking point, but you definitely stretched it. Is there a point sometimes where you say, how far can we really stretch it? Or are you like, come on, let's take a risk?
Well, we're willing to say, let's take a risk, but we also just say that's not right. It's not Bondian or not right. We do take that position. And that's just, an instinctive feeling we have.
Absolutely. Now, there is a legacy that your father started, which I absolutely adore. And I'm going to recount a moment during the first screening when my wife grabbed my arm and squeezed during the motorcycle jump in Matera. The fact that you do everything real, why is that so important?
Well, because I think, you want audiences to feel that that's a real man doing those real things. And certainly in Daniel's case, he really has done as much as we will allow him to do in the stunts. But, I think it's always been the case that, when you go back to Spy Who Loved Me, when you have the skiing off the mountain, I mean, people saw that on the screen and they knew that was a real person. That wasn't a dummy or a CGI created thing. It was a real person. And I think that ambition is really important to keep in these films.
I've often used the word terrestrial with Bond.
Yeah.
He's of this earth. If you want a guy with a cape, that's a Boy Scout, there is a genre for that. But this is somebody that's flawed, that can get hurt, and he does in this film. And you really feel that trepidation, that risk that's there.
Yeah.
I do only have a few minutes left, but so many people I'm sure are asking you, what's next? I'm not going to ask that question. I think it's a bit cliched. Yes. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm just going to thank both of you, because I straddle the world of fandom and journalism, and the two of you have lifted people's spirits in the last 2 years, but also in the last 60 years, starting next year. People that were very despondent, people that were a bit lost, and Bond allowed them to escape for a few hours. And I just want to thank you for doing it. I know it's a company, but at the heart of it, I really feel the fans are your lifeblood, and we all feel that out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're very grateful to all the fans who've been keeping Bond alive. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's our fans are our blood. That's what we need, and we always have them in mind.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you both of you, and thanks for your time.
Take care.
Take care now.
Okay, there you go. So, you have to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. I want people to kind of drink this in. First of all, you've got less than 15 minutes, which actually is a decent long time. I think it was the longest that they were giving people for the interview. Some people were doing 5 minutes, some people were doing 7 minutes, and I got 15, which was huge. But in that amount of time, I wanted to make sure that I thanked them. I wanted to make sure I talked about the Bond fans and the Bond community. That's been a steady state in every one of my interviews. I wanted to talk about, What amount of weight did they put on in thinking about the fans, especially the core fans, the Bond community, because that's us, right? So I wanted to talk about, the fact of doing it real, and we got that question in. And of course, I had to, because if you've seen the movie, I had to ask about the Bond formula and stretching it. That is my subterfuge way of saying, like, wow, you went far in a lot of different, cracking and breaking of the formula. And I thought their answers were well regarded and thoughtful, and I was really just appreciative to have a conversation. I don't think of these as interviews, or any of those, however they put this press junket, which, even the word junk in the word has a little bit of a tainting going on. If done right, these can be very comfortable conversations. And again, if you've seen my other interviews, the whole impetus behind my questions was, what's burning in my head? What am I thinking about before, during, and after this movie? Or what have I wanted to ask or say for decades of loving James Bond? So this was that opportunity to do that. All right, I'll leave you to it. First of all, thanks for joining me. This was a lot of fun. And of course, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We've got some more surprises coming up in the near future. We'll talk to you real soon. Take care.
Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.